All right. So once again, good afternoon, and let's go ahead and talk about the very first module in the Arduino Level 1 or the work immersion, the introduction to Arduino. So in this lesson, in this module, we will actually be talking about 7 different lessons. Okay? I have prepared here 7 different lessons in which mukha lang siyang marami, pero in reality, these are just, an overview on what we will be discussing for the entire semester. If you also have read the course outline that I have posted last week, you will realize you will actually see the different topics and the different discussions that we will have for the following weeks. So, since this is under work immersion, we will actually try to focus ourselves with the application side ng tinatawag natin ng pagiging immersed sa work environment, sa application tayo. And since you are under the ICT department, I am really assuming that majority of us actually have this kind of knowledge and background with programming up until the basics, especially the object-oriented programming. So in this lesson or in this module, we have 7 different lessons. We will be talking about the following. And by the end of the lesson, we will be we should be able to at least define the meaning of robots and robotics. We will be identifying the different robotics application, identifying the different parts of an Arduino microcontroller or the MCU na tinatawag natin. We will also be identifying the parts of the Arduino IDE and the different icons under the sketch menu, sketch code setup. Yan. We will also be identifying the safety procedures and yan, and so on. So, meron din tayong mga discussion dito tungkol sa voltage, resistance, current, or the basics of what we call the electronics. Now, I really do suggest dito, pagdating natin dito sa discussion na to, since naka-design talaga ang lesson na to for face-to-face classes, I also have prepared here an alternative way for us to experience the way on how we program, okay, a robot. Later on kasi, ang magiging target natin dito, makaka-create tayo ng like a prototype. Okay? A prototype of a specific application na magagamit natin to solve a specific problem. And yun yung pag-uusapan nyo ni mamaya nyo under your inquiry subject. So, I'll be introducing what we call the Arduino, okay, for today. And let's go ahead and discuss Arduino. Pero before that, let's talk about what we call the robots and their different applications. Now, this is the first part of our lesson. Okay? Robots. Narinig naman na natin yan, di ba? Ang term na robot. Because nowadays, majority of those tasks are somehow boring and repetitive jobs. Well, thankfully, especially in the manufacturing side, di ba? Thankfully, we have those robots who actually make our lives easier. Diba? Sila yung mga nag-automate ng mga bagay-bagay, especially in manufacturing. So the military and police use robots for dangerous jobs such as manipulating explosive devices. Yan. Robots are used in inaccessible places such as exploring our solar system or the bottom of the sea. Kung napansin natin, ang robots kasi napakadami na rin yung application, di ba? Napakalawak na rin yan. Well, you are correct that robot is actually under artificial intelligences. And that's what we are trying to achieve in this particular course for today. So we have 8 different modules as usual. And starting the module number 2, dun tayo mag-start sa may programming side natin. Now, mankind is actually only beginning to see the use and value of robotics. That's why, at the end of the discussion, we'll be defining the following. Yan. So, tignan natin to. Di ba? We have here a very simple word. Di ba? Kung napapansin nyo, this is robot. Yan. So, this is the word robot. Because we will be focusing majority or most of our discussions in the robot natin. So, in other words, pag sinabi nating robot, we can call that as machine. We can call them as cyborg. Or we can also call them as automation. Either, yan, automation din, di ba? Engineering and electronics. So, maybe some of you here are planning to shift their courses to STEM or to engineering, I mean, during their college days. This is a very good opportunity for everyone to have a background pagdating dito sa Arduino natin. Just for your information po, the University of the Cordilleras, especially for the next school year, they opened a new course which is what we call the Mechatronics under engineering department. So kung medyo interested kayo sa part ng mechatronics or robotics, pwede kayong mag-shift from ICT into mechatronics. Actually, okay yon kasi may background na tayo sa programming, especially sa robotics natin. Diba? Now, this word here talks about what we call the machine. Yan. Interesting ang pangalan pero nakakayak yung difficulty. Actually, well, anyways, marirealize natin yan later on kung mas ano nga ba talagang mas mahirap na programming. Java nga ba or itong Arduino natin. Diba? So this word here is what we call machine. Okay? And for some exploration, I hindi na tayo mag-grouping dito pero I just want you guys to imagine to have a group composed of 6 members. Yan. One will be assigned as a leader to give a command to the members, and the remaining members will serve as the body parts. So for example, you have here the leader, diba? So magko-command siya at right arm, body, left leg, and right leg. These different parts of the robot actually signify something. The right arm means the degree, okay? The degree of the movement. The left arm means the motor side ng isang robot. The body is the way on how we rotate. The left leg is how we control the torque. And the right leg is actually how we control the servo motor. Pag-uusapan naman natin yung mga parts na yan once na nandun na tayo sa mga parts din ng components or modules natin ng Arduino. Okay? Gagamit po ba tayo ng Raspberry Pi? Sa ngayon, hindi pa. Okay? Sa ngayon, hindi pa. Because, well, yeah, Raspberry Pi is optional pero hindi natin siya totally gagamitin kasi Raspberry Pi for everyone's information, it's actually a separate microcontroller. Pwede siyang maging PC, FYI po, pero hindi siya Windows. Okay? It's a separate OS. Yan. Yeah, it's a separate OS. Now, we have the following commands. As I have mentioned, let the right arm touch the left leg. But then, basically, ang gusto ko lang sabihin dito, the leader actually commands, diba? Yung different parts natin, na binanggit ko, yung degree, the motor, the servo, the rotation, and everything. Now, what is the help or purpose of the leader in a specific team? Alam naman natin, diba? That the leader actually is the one who tries to analyze everything. Diba? Usually, it explains how human like us serve as a controller to the several machines that we have. If the leader portrays the role of the controller, therefore, the remaining members constitute the machine. Itong part na to. Well, these are simply guide questions. Hindi tayo totally magpo-focus dito. Dito tayo ngayon sa definition ng robot. A robot is actually also called a droid. It is a machine, especially one programmable by a computer, capable of carrying out of complex series of actions automatically. Robots can be guided by an external control device or the control may be embedded with. And robots may be constructed to take on human form, but most robots are machine designed to perform a task with no regard to how they look. Robots can be autonomous or semi-autonomous. What we are trying to achieve here in this particular course, Introduction to Arduino or Introduction to Robotics, hindi talaga tayo totally gagawa ng literal na robot. Siyempre, before we can even proceed with that one, we should know the way or the basics of what we call the microcontrollers, in which I'll be introducing later on. And in terms of their application, there is also a history dito. According to the history, many sources show the popularity of automatons, a moving mechanical device made in imitation of a human being or robot. In ancient and medieval times, ancient Greeks and Romans developed simple automatons for use as tools and toys and as part of religious ceremonies. So, ever since pala, during nung time ng like around the before Christ era, meron na pong robots. Hindi lang siya yung robots na nakikita natin ngayon, pero sila po yung mga automatic, di ba? Automatons na tinatawag natin. And the Greek god Hephaestus was supposed to have built automatons to work for him in a workshop. You know Hephaestus? In the Greek mythology, di ba? Unfortunately, none of them early automatons still exist. So, pero meron to eh. According to the source na nabasa ko rin, actually ang pinakauna rin na automaton is abacus, yung pag-compute, 'di ba? Yung pag-add and minus ng mga bagay-bagay. So that's actually one of the way how they automate yung pagbibilang ng araw. Tapos nagkaroon na tayo ng mga during the industrial era, 'di ba? Yung mga gulong, yung mga steam engines and so on. Now, since we have defined the robots, yan, let us now try to find out the characteristics of a robot. Yan. So, just try to close your eyes and follow those instructions. So, as you close your eyes, do you feel something? Well, basically, of course, di ba? Now, stand up and then sit down. Lift anything that's on your armchair or pocket. And do you somehow understand me? These are some simple, activities for us to understand that there are indeed some characteristics of robots. Yeah, we have 4 different characteristics of robots. Number 1 is the way on how we sense, di ba? To be able to sense its surrounding. Robots or robotics can do that. To be able to move around its environment is also one of the key feature or characteristic of robotic that is under movement. Diba? Energy, is actually the characteristic or the ability to be able to have power or to acquire power. Intelligence, yan papasok ngayon yung artificial intelligence natin. So a robot need some kind of smarts. And those intelligence inside robotics can actually be built by us, humans as well. Diyan ngayon papasok yung programming natin. If we know how to program or if we know how to code, di ba? Kaya nga natin meron yung term na tinatawag natin na pinoprogram natin yung mga robots. Kasi nga basically, we are the one who is giving them commands, di ba? Tayo yung nagbibigay ng way kung paano sila magre-react sa environment, paano sila gagalaw, paano sila makakasense, di ba? And so on. Ibang definition naman or ibang aspect naman kapag gusto mo naman na yung robot mo can do something na labas doon sa program natin. That is what we call machine learning. In fact, the robots can now learn from the environment itself. Machine learning. So basically, you have put here a specific code, 'di ba? Na gagawin niya, pero as the time passed by, yung robots na yun, hindi lang siya basta naglalakad pa abante. He then realized that he can turn right and turn left. Paano nangyari yon? The process or the concept behind what we call the machine learning. For those of you who would like to enroll to a course of computer science once na pagdating natin ng college after you graduated senior high school, yan, lapit kayo sa akin kasi I'm a computer science graduates. Matutulungan ko kayo sa mga bagay na ganyan. Artificial intelligence, machine learning, yan, mga ganyan. Kasi malawak sa mathematics ang computer science po. And personally, I really have enjoyed that course when I was like in college because of this part of their discussion. Ito, tong AI na to, AI, robotics, hindi lang siya under engineering pero under din siya na computer science. Kapag ka-IT ka kasi, papasok ka ngayon dyan, more on programming. Diba? Yan. So, robots and their applications. Now, the way on how robotics can be applied, yan, are the following. Robots obtain information from its environment. Ito nga, nabanggit ko. The machine learning, di ba? Robots exhibit a degree of intelligence and robots manipulate objects. Question here, darating kaya yung time na robots can or, might take, ang tawag dito, might somehow take the entire human race, like sila yung magle-lead, like parang napapanood natin sa Terminator, di ba? Na dumating yung time na robots na yung nag-a-class, di ba? Yung Terminator part. Darating kaya tayo sa part na yun? We'll see. Yeah, well, in fact, they started the first cyborg sa may Saudi Arabia. You know Sophia, right? The AI robot na kung saan kayang-kaya niya nang sumagot and she can even crack some jokes and which are dark humors as well. So nakakatuwa at the same time medyo creepy because we can eventually see how Sophia keeps on evolving every single day. Meaning, si Sophia kasi program lang yun na parang na matuto pa ng iba pang bagay. On top pa dun sa kinode sa kanya. So, that's an example of what we call the machine learning. That time that the robot did the capture, right? Well, yeah, the captcha, no, kapag ka nag-login tayo sa mga ibang websites. Diba? Now, there are two classifications of robots based on where they are used and the tasks they perform. We have two. Take note, ha? Number one are what we call the industrial robots. Okay? When we say industrial robots, sila po yung sa may mga companies natin, or I mean manufacturing, yan, and logistics. So, storage, delivery, yan, and manufacturing such as for welding and packaging. Another classification is what we call the service robots, in which they assist humans in their tasks, such as in medical, yan, sa mga surgery, sa bahay, such as those that help do chores, like vacuum cleaners, di ba? Bumila ako nito yung vacuum cleaner ko na umiikot lang sa bahay. And educational, such as those used to teach programming, di ba? No, I'm not a robot. Di ba? Defense, such as those used by the military, like, observation drones as well. So we have industrial and service robots. And take note, identify if the given picture is industrial robot or service robots. Tingnan natin, ha. I'll be showing you a series of images here. Ito. Ano kayang tawag dito? Is this industrial or service? Yan. Again, industrial used for logistics, manufacturing. For the service, medical, ganyan. So this is used for, industrial. So it's currently used for assembly, di ba? Assembly and manufacturing. Next. How about this one? Hindi ko kilala to eh. Pero this is for services. So due to close human figure, it is a nurse robot to care for patient. Ito. So nurse robot siya. So para siyang di ba, Baymax natin sa Pixar. Next, how about this one? Industrial or service? Or service? Robot Wars. This is service. Okay, this is actually a service robot because it is used for military operations and strategical plans. Yeah, Wall-E is an example of a service robot. Robot Wars talaga. Yeah, napapanood ko rin yan eh. Yung Robot Wars na yan. Aggressive Wall-E. How about this one? Industrial or service? This is, yes, that's right. This is not liability, but then service. Yeah. This is, ito naman, it simply provides leisure and entertainment. It doesn't do anything at all very useful sa bahay nyo. Pero for pure entertainment, enjoy lang. Cutie bot, babe. Diba? That's for service. Another one? Ito, si Robert. Yeah, this is service. So, it can perform caregiving tasks. Pero in Japan kasi ito eh. Robot sus. Yan. And lastly, tingnan natin, ano kaya to? Industrial or service? This is for industrial. So, nakita natin, no, for assembly ng mga car parts and yung mga sa loob niya, yung machines niya sa loob. Okay, so alam naman na natin ang difference ni industrial and service, di ba? So let's try to at least take a look at the following true or false statements here. Additional assessment lang to. Robots obtain information from its environment. Is this true or false? This is indeed true. Number one is true. Movement is be able to sense its surroundings. Kakabanggit ko lang nito. Yes, this is true. Yan. Number 3, industrial robots help simplify production tasks. That is true. All right. Sure daw, sure. True. Yeah, number 4, service robots help do not assist humans in their tasks. Yes, this is false. Okay, tama. Yan, tama yung mga tinatype nyo. May nagturo na isa. Now, service robots help. Okay? It can assist humans. Number 5, energy does not able to produce power. This is indeed false. Energy does produce power. Dun sa characteristics natin ng robots, di ba? So, that's only a very basic and a very simple introduction to what we call robotics. Now, let's move on to what we call hold on. False, what do you mean energy doesn't produce power? So let's go back here sa may characteristics natin, no? Yan. So, energy to be able to have power. And energy does not able to produce power. So therefore, this is false. Alright? And po. Okay? So that's only once again, a basic introduction to what we call the robots and their application. Now let's move on to the start of our main dish in which what we call the Arduino Uno microcontroller. Arduino Uno. Okay, so in this lesson, we will learn about the different components on the Arduino board. We will study the Arduino Uno board because it is the most popular board, all right, in the Arduino board family. In addition, it is the best board to get started with electronics and coding. Some boards look a bit different from the one given below, but most Arduinos have majority of commons. Okay, so tingnan natin to, no? Itong nakikita natin dito sa may presentation natin. Okay, so what does it mean? Ito, from the picture shown, how can you define what we call the MCU? When I say MCU from now on, I'm referring to microcontrollers. Okay, MCU, hindi po yan Marvel Cinematic Universe. This is microcontroller. Now, think of this, or think of the MCU like the brain. Diba? Human has brain which is used for control functions, movements, sensations, and thoughts. Diba? Now, robots, on the other hand, have what we call the microcontroller who serves as the brain of the entire robot. And para mapagana natin ang isang particular robot or mabigyan natin yan ng command later on, kailangan din nating alamin kung paano i-modify or i-explore si MCU niya, si microcontroller niya. Okay? Now, microcontroller or MCU, it is actually a very small computer on a single integrated circuit containing a processor core, memory, and programmable input-output peripherals. It serves as the brain of our robot, and compared to our nervous system, this unit sends the information programmed so different robotic parts can function. Diyan ngayon kasi papasok yung programming natin. Take note, this course doesn't only focus on the programming side but also on the hardware part. So, matututo tayo kung paano maglagay ng mga pins, ano yung ibig sabihin ng resistors. So, basic electronics, kumbaga. And don't worry, kapag sa mismo actual ito, hindi naman to sumasabog. Pero that's actually the concept behind this one. Yes, magpo-program po tayo ng mga LED lights, ng mga sensors na gagamitin natin as this course passed by. Okay, mamaya, ipupunta tayo dyan sa mga part na yan. Now, this is an example of what we call the Arduino Uno microcontroller. Arduino. Unfortunately, hindi ko ito may papakita sa inyo personally kasi, hindi naman kayo lahat nasa online. Pero, for those of you who are capable enough, or let's say, may kaya, you can actually buy the kit. Okay? So, pakita ko sa inyo, no? Meron ako kasing kit dito. Ayan. So, meron tayong kit dito. And this actually contains the complete set of Arduino microcontroller, Arduino Uno microcontroller. So, kung napapansin nyo, this is an example of the microcontroller na gagamitin natin for the entire class. Okay. So, during the face-to-face classes, siguro I think lang after election, magkakaroon tayo ng limited face-to-face classes dito. Ayan. So, kung nakikita nyo, it has different parts. Ayan. Mine 100. Actually, ito po hindi ko po kayo i-require bumili nito kasi medyo pricey sa inyo, lalo kung kung hindi naman kayo nag-work, 'di ba? Ito kasi it was, I bought that in here sa Baguio. Meron naman tayo bilihan dito sa Baguio. Actually, kung gusto niyo bumili ng Arduino kits natin, pwede kayong pumunta sa may Layad. Layad as in, teka, ipakita ko nga 'to. Google Instant Street View. Meron kasing bilihan dito sa Baguio niyan. Pakita ko lang. Meron din sa Lazada, syempre. Ikaw siya tayo. Session Road. Ayan. Dito ako usually bumibili ng Arduino kits or ng mga parts, ng mga modules. Sige, pakita ko ha. Dito. Remember this old Jollibee? I mean, ito iba na to ngayon eh. Pero itong F. Lopez building na to. So, this F. Lopez building, inside here, pag pumasok kasi kayo dito, yan, dito sa loob na to, yan, may kaladyo to, no? Oo. May makikita kayo dito na bilihan talaga ng Arduino kits. So, ang pangalan niya is Layad Electronics. So, dyan, papasok kayo dyan. And usually, medyo mahal nga lang, around 2,000. Pero kapag nag-Lazada kayo, meron kayong makikita na mga mura lang naman. Pagka sa Lazada, yung set ang bibilihin nyo, yung starter kit dapat, no? Magkakaiba po kasi yan, okay? Magkakaiba po yan. Arduino Uno ang pipiliin natin. Ito, Arduino Uno, R3. Ito. Kung nakita nyo to, itong nakikita nyo ngayon sa screen ko, ito. Yan. So, ganyan siya. Kompleto na rin ng parts, di ba? And everything. Yan. So, ganyan na itsura niyan. So, ganto. Ano natin? Yeah, it looks like a chipboard stuff, pero, yeah, with a breadboard. Nung panahon kasi namin, when we actually learned the microcontrollers, nagsosolder kami. Soldering iron. Yung isa-isa namin siyang ididikit. Pero ngayon, the good thing about Arduino Uno, hindi nyo na kailangang isolder lahat yan. Tuturuan ko kayo kung paano magkabit neto. Okay? Kapag nandun na tayo sa part na yon. Yan, diba? So, pwede kayong mag-search. This is only for yan. Doble rin ng presyo kasi pagdating dito sa Baguio, like 2,000. Siyempre yung shipping, no? Pero, yeah, hindi naman po ito sumasabog. Huwag kayong mag-alala. That's a good thing. Pero yun nga, may mga problema kagaya neto, di ba? Yan. So, it will be an advantage for students who actually own this in person. Pero, this is only a necessity. I think for now. Kasi, for midterms. Pero for finals kasi, kailangan nyo talagang gumawa kasi ng prototype na working Arduino project. Pero, hindi physical. Tuturuan ko kayo. May alternative way tayo kung paano tayo makakapag-Arduino without having the physical kit. Pero again, it will be very advantageous for those of you who has their kits. Now, if ever lang you really want to have your own Arduino kit and you are undecided kung tama ba yung nakita mo sa Lazada, just message me. Try nating evaluate kung tama yung Arduino kit na anuin mo. Yan. Starter kit. Makikita nyo. And the starter kit actually contains the following. Yan. Maraming modules yan na pag-aaralan natin isa-isa. Alright. So, there are different parts of the microcontrollers. Na, ano lang naman to, very basic and overview lang naman to. Pero, syempre, mas may experience natin to sa personal, mas maganda, di ba? Ayan. So, the first one, this one, the power in, it can be used with either 9-volt or 12-volt supply. Ibig sabihin, this Arduino board here, Arduino Uno, can be powered by a battery. So, pwede po kasi kayong maglagay dito later on ng battery. Kapag, halimbawa, ang purpose nito, kapag nasa malayo kayo, gusto nyong gumawa ng isang application na kung saan dala-dala nyo lang siya lagi. Like a sensor na makakadetect ng magnanakaw. Diba? Oops. Yan. So, pwede nyo. Ito yun. May ikakabit kayo dito sa may power in na to. Ayan. Tapos, dito nyo ngayon ilalagay yung battery ninyo. Yan. We also have here the power in for USB port. This is the basic. Yan. Dito. Diba? Nandito siya. It provides power and communicates with the board when plugged in via USB. Hindi siya basta USB-A, USB-B, Type B or Type C. Iba po siya, no? Yan. So, dito siya kinakabit. Yan, kinakabit siya dyan. Tapos, pero most of the time kasi ito ang gamit natin to power up the entire board. The idea here is this one. We will program a specific code, di ba? We will be uploading the code here in our Arduino. Tapos, kahit natanggalin na natin to later on, once na mayroon na siyang nadidetect na power from your battery, kaya-kaya niya nang i-perform yung code na ginawa mo. So, if you would like to create like a basic Christmas tree, Christmas lights, pwede na yan. Diba? Yun. The LED here, ito, medyo maliit ito, hindi lang makita sa camera. RX, the receiving, it blinks when receiving data. The TX, it blinks when transmitting the data. LED, the troubleshooting, in number 5, ito. It blinks when the program is running properly. Hindi lang siya makita ngayon, pero may LXTR, DR siya na nandito. Yan. Again, Arduino Uno po ito kapag nandun na tayo sa may advance, baka i-introduce ko sa inyo yung Raspberry Pi. Ang purpose naman ni Raspberry Pi kasi para mas malawak yung magawa natin na application. Mas madami ka kasing maano kung if you would like to integrate your mobile phone, or if you would like to create your mobile app, your own mobile app, doon dito sa may Arduino mo, pwede na yan. Powered by Arduino and Raspberry Pi po yan. Okay, next, we have here the pins dito. The digital, analog, and ground. It can be used for input, output, power, and ground. So, we have here this part of our board dito. Dito natin ilalagay, tama ba? Ito pala, sorry, baliktad. Dito. So, dito natin ilalagay lahat ng mga pins natin. Sasaksakan natin yan kasi. Ito, dito, di ba? Sasaksakan natin yan ng mga wires later on. Diba? We also have here the LED, the on-off LED. Napipindot yan pero hindi lang makita dito sa akin. Pero it basically indicates if there is power. The reset button, it manually resets the Arduino board. Number 9, this part is the pin where they can be used for input, output, power, and ground. We will actually talk about this one in depth kapag nandun na tayo sa may discussion na yun kasi isa-isahin natin yan. Alright. Arduino is a single board microcontroller to make using electronics in multidisciplinary projects more accessible. Now, for the hardware specification, okay, it's a simple open source hardware, designed around an 8-bit Atmel AVR microcontroller. So, if you are planning to use this later on as, for big projects, hindi po pwede kasi hindi niya kaya. Yan, hindi niya kaya. So, yung mga basic lang na basic lang na projects such as yung mga sensors, yung mga itong sensor na to, 'di ba? Parang wall E. So, kapag i-apply na natin yan mamaya dito, magkakaroon na yan ng So, pwede na siyang gumalaw-galaw and so on. May mga servo motors tayo dito. We can also print our messages via the the LCD screen. So, kung gusto mong... Actually, pwede nyo gamitin sa Arduino. For those PC builders out there, pwede nyo gamitin si Arduino to detect the temperature of your hardware. Tapos, pwede nyo siyang i-print dito sa may LCD screen na to. So, for example, gusto mong makita kung gaano nakainit yung CPU temperature mo. So, gagamit ka ng software and you will simply feed that directly dito sa may LCD display natin. So, it's possible as well. Yan. Wag natin tong mga specifications na to. Dito na tayo. Sa may part natin ng the uses of the microcontrollers. Some examples here. Saan nga ba ginagamit tong si Arduino Uno natin? Ginagamit to mostly for burglar alarms, incorporate a microcontroller chip. 'Di ba? Kapag halimbawa, na-detect na may dumaan na magnanakaw, tutunog yung bagay na yon. Ito yung pwede nyong ikabit actually sa mga pintuan ninyo. Tapos, pagka may dumaan, na-sense niya may tao, gagalaw siya. Or tutunog siya ng maingay. Older automatic machines used a camera switch for sequencing the operations during a wash cycle. This was quite a complex switch and was mounted on the end of the shaft. Hindi ko rin inabot to Pero, the good example for use of microcontroller Arduino is, ako personally nagamit ko to automatically feed my dog. Depende kung ano yung oras na gusto kong iset. So, halimbawa, I'm away, I'm on a vacation, then I would like to have my dog eat, his meal every now and then. Ang gagawin ko lang, meron akong kinabit dito, yung tinatawag natin na servo and motor, in which nakokontrol niya yung servo and motor niya. Umiikot yung, kumbaga, nagsiswitch, gumaganyan. Pagdating ng 6 p.m., tataas na yung servo, tapos magko-close din. So, pag tumaas, automatic bababa yung feeds niya, yung mga pagkain niya. Ba? So, yun. Nakagawa ko ng ganun. It's very fun. It's very easy to do using this one. TVs use microcontrollers as well to handle the selection of channels and reading the state of buttons on the TV. Did you know, guys, that you can, or yeah, you can actually uh, do some, ito, sa may manual, ito sa remote natin, pwede mo kasi makontrol yung lights mo, di ba? Yung lights, yung TV mo, and so on. So ito, this is an example. Microcontrollers are used for engine controls and display of information on the dashboard. Digital cameras use microcontrollers to handle input from buttons, control of image capture, and display as well. Yan. So medyo madami, no? Madami-dami po ang iano natin. Pero, I really need everyone to at least familiarize or memorize this time the part of the Arduino Uno. So, try nating Try nating i-memorize to para at least pagdating natin sa personal na alam na natin kung ano yung mga tinutukoy dito. Once again, the one here, this is power in. Dito ngayon pinapasok si battery. Yung saksakan na pinakita ko kanina, di ba? Ito, the barrel jack. Number 2 is another power in for USB ports. Yan. Number 3 is RX. RX stands for receiving. Nagbe-blink yan. Okay? Number 4 is for TX, the transmitting. Number 5 is for LED light. Another LED light for troubleshooting. Number 6 is for pins. Yan. We have the digital pins. And we have the digital pins from 0 up to 13. Number 7 here is the LED for on and off. Number 8 is for the reset button. Nandito yan usually, maliit lang yan. Ito, napipindot yan. Reset button. Number 9 is for the pins, another pins, pero this time for analog. So again, this is a pin, pero for digital, this is for analog. Madidiscuss naman natin yan kung ano ang difference ni digital and analog pins natin. Okay? So, dito tayo ngayon, pasok ngayon tayo sa tinatawag natin na Arduino IDE. Okay? The sketch. Now, when we say Arduino IDE, this is not the first time na na-encounter natin si word na IDE, di ba? During our programming subject, we have an IntelliJ NetBeans as an example of IDE. Di ba? Integrated Development Environment. Now, Arduino has its own IDE as well. Kung saan doon natin ilalagay si program natin. Okay? In which we call the Arduino software. It is important to learn and analyze because it contains a text editor for writing, code, a message area, a text console, a toolbar with buttons for common functions, and a series of menus. It connects to the Arduino and Genuino hardware to upload programs and communicate with them. So, ito siya. You can go ahead and go to this website, especially kung meron na kayong Arduino kits. Ito. This is the website in which we can download. Yan. Wait lang ha. Mamaya ako sagutin yung mga question mo, okay? So, yan. Dito tayo sa may website na to kung saan pwede nyo ma-download si Arduino IDE natin. So, I prefer downloading the executable file version. So, yan. Pakita ko lang sa inyo kung paano natin siya install. For the face-to-face classes, mamaya po ano natin yan. Yes, Peter, for any Arduino modules po itong nakikita natin na to. Gamit ka ako ng IDM para mas mabilis. So you can go ahead and try to download this. Kasi pwede tayong mag-hello world muna. Pakita ko sa inyo kung paano mag-hello world. This is C++. Alright, the programming language being used for Arduino is C++. Take note on that. Kailangan donation. And download lang natin before natin install. Okay? Pero don't worry, since online naman tayo for now, tuturuan ko rin kayo kung paano gawin ito online. Okay? There is also another alternative way or an alternative way for us to code or to experience Arduino online. Pero for now, pakita ko muna ito. Okay. So install natin. Yan, so I agree. So basically, in-install nito yung Arduino software natin, the USB driver, which is very important. Yan, and everything. Okay? So once na nag-install na to, it looks something like this. Pwede po ba yan sa phone? No. Actually, hindi siya pwede sa phone, especially yung coding natin. Pero yung online, ang pwede. Okay? Pwede sa laptop, pwede sa phone. Pero ito kasi, what we are trying to install here is the software associated when you have this one as a physical device on your own. Take note ha, kung meron kayong ganito, maganda ito. Itong ginagawa natin. Pero since wala, don't worry, meron akong papakita sa inyo ng example. Okay? Now, since we are waiting or while we are waiting for this one, sir, pwede po isend sa GC? Yeah. Alin yung website? Tama ba? Every time I see the green speedy text, I feel like I'm pro hacker. Okay, sige. Miss Gwyneth, no, i-send natin to sa GC later on. Or someone can please, can someone please send this? The link? Kahit kayo na po. Para dun sa iba, no? Ayan. Hintayin lang natin mag-install ito. Para may pakita ko pa rin sa inyo. And let me prepare. Saksak ko lang ito sa aking PC. Ayan, kaso hindi abot. Ayan, so mag-install ang software natin. And let's install that. And let's install everything. Importante po ito, especially when during the setup. Yan. So kapag ka na-complete na, we have here the Arduino software. And it looks something like this. Ayan, di ba? Kung naka-IntelliJ kayo, ako kasi nasanay ako sa black and white interface ng programming. Hindi ko pa sinusubukang alamin kung meron ba tong version ng alam mo yun, ng black and white, pero I haven't really tried. Now, this is what we call the Arduino IDE. All of your projects here is what we call Sketch. Huh? This is what we call Sketch. Every time we create a new file here, this is automatic, what we call Sketch. In Java, that's what we called Java. Pero ito in Arduino, it's what we call Sketch naman. So, based on the given definition below, yan, try to guess the parts of the Arduino IDE. Itong mga to. Napakadali lang naman yan. We have here the verify. Yan, we have here the verify. This part here is where we can verify if our code contains an error or not. Diba? Ito. Kung C++ yung programming language na gamit, okay lang ba hindi gamitin yung Arduino software? Actually, the answer is that depends on the situation. If you are only planning to create like a simulation, a text-based simulation of this code here, okay na rin ito. Na kahit na wag na kayong gumamit ng Arduino software. Ito. Okay? Pero, here's the thing. There are some specific methods. Yan, there are some specific methods or libraries, especially itong mga libraries na to, in which you need to install inside the Arduino IDE in the future. Especially pagdating natin dito kay Liquid Crystal Display, the LCD. Yan. Si C++ lang na standalone, hindi mo siya totally mapapagana not unless you have installed this library. Okay? So, meron tayong ano yan. Importante na natin yan, na alam din natin, part na yan. Okay? Pero kung simulation lang, like text-based lang, mag-i-input ka lang, madali lang. Kahit di na. Kahit sa IDE, kahit nga lang dun sa IntelliJ, pwede na. Mag-install lang kayo ng environment ng C++. Yan. So, going back, this is where you verify. Kapag ka nakapag-code ka na, you will check. Yan. It will compile the sketch. Tapos, i-check niya kung may error ba yung code. Now, kung walang error yung code, you will click on the upload button. Itong may arrow na may right side na to. Dito. It will upload. Automatic niya kasing i-upload po yung tawag dito, yung code na ginawa mo dito mismo sa loob ng ng chip natin or microcontroller natin. Yan. We also have here the new, in which again it will simply open a new sketch. Yan. We also have here the open, and self-explanatory. Yan, save. Now, for the serial monitor, ang serial monitor kasi natin, okay, ito po yung serial monitor na tinatawag natin dito. In Java programming, this is the what we call yung screen kung saan natin nakikita yung tinype natin na hello world or anything na ginagawa natin, di ba? Di ba? So, in other terms, this is what we call the console, serial monitor po. Now, usually nawawala yan, pero you can just go ahead and click on tools, tapos mapapalabas nyo na si serial monitor. Or control shift N. Makikita nyo na yan dito. And lastly, we have, or next is what we call the code area. Dito, code area ito. Message area, this is where the IDE tells you if there were any errors in your code. Nakikita po yan dito. Done compiling, nandito yan sa may part na to. The board and the serial ports. Yan, shows you what board and the serial port selection. Now, mapapansin kasi natin yan kung tama ang nilagay natin na Arduino board dito sa may lower right corner ng ating Arduino IDE dito. So kapag once na sinaksak ko sinaksak ko tong si Arduino natin sa PC ko, magpapakita kasi dito sa may right side na to, hindi lang makita dito sa akin. Yan. Go to tools, yan, and check on the board. Make sure na yung board nyo is Arduino Uno, di ba? Arduino Uno. Tapos kung napapansin nyo rin itong aking Arduino, yan, umilaw na siya, di ba? Umilaw na siya. And make sure na yung port nyo nakaselect kung saan man nakalagay si Arduino Uno ninyo. And in my case, my port here is COM5. Diba? Yan. So, mababago yan dito. Arduino Uno on COM number 5. Ito siya. So, once na nag-install na siya successfully, wala na kayong magiging problem kasi, alam mo yun, makikita nyo na siya directly agad sa port ninyo dito sa Arduino natin. May butas ba po ba yan or green? Alin? Alin ang may butas? May green ang alin? Wala namang butas yan. Yung Arduino thingy, ito, no, walang butas. Dito ang parang ano niya, parang screw, lalagyan ng screw, ito, totong part na to. Hindi lang makita dito kasi, syempre, ito, may butas yan. Ito is the light. This is for the troubleshooting na lights. So, ibig sabihin, kapag nakikita yung nagbiblink yan, nagtatransmit yung data and nagre-receive. So, working properly yan. Yan. So, we have the menu bar, the status bar, and the toolbar. Yan. Yan natin to, i-skip ko na to. Now, navigating the Arduino IDE is actually very easy as, kasi alam naman nating mag-IntelliJ. Since ICT naman tayo, this is not really the first time for everybody to encounter any IDEs so far, di ba? So, I have explained here how to check or select the microcontrollers, select the ports, and everything. Now, for the sample code, ang sample code natin kasi dito, since this is C++, I would like to explain this one. Itong two different codes natin. Every time na nag-open kayo kasi ng panibagong sketch dito sa Arduino IDE natin, automatic na mag-open din itong dalawang method natin, si setup and si loop. And take note, this is a built-in method in Arduino IDE. No need for us to create what we call the import, Javax, yung mga ganyan for now. Diba? C++ ito, so there is a different way on how to do that. Since this is Arduino, automatic po na nag-start tayo lagi sa setup and loop. Setup is where you will be setting up your code. So, this is actually where you will be declaring some variables later on. Yan. Dito ka rin magde-define ng kung ano-ano. Diba? Dito ka rin magtatawag ng mga kung ano-ano din. So, para rin siyang init UI. So, at the beginning of your your program, automatic, this will be the one who can be executed as well. Now, aside from the setup, we have here the loop. This is the magic, where the magic can happen. And instead of us using a for loop, Pero ang C++ kasi meron ding loop. Pero dito sa Arduino na to, automatic na lahat ng code na nilagay mo, especially lahat ng events na nangyayari dito sa loob ng Arduino mo, dito mo ngayon ilalagay. Example, if you would like to turn on and turn off your LED lights, for example, you will be placing your code inside the loop. So mag-on off siya. Pero you will be setting up the positions or the wire positions of your LED light inside the setup. So once na setup mo yan, dito mo ngayon ilalagay yung, kumbaga, yung magpapailaw ng sunod-sunod doon sa LED lights mo. Setup and loop. Hindi nyo po ito pwedeng burahin. Take note. Lagi pong kasama yan. Okay? Anyways, magpapakita naman ako sa inyo ng example. Ayan. Meron tayo dito. Very simple hello world lang natin. Okay, ito. So if you would like to print out like a very simple hello world, si Java kasi 'di ba system.out.println ang ginagamit natin. In this case, in Arduino, we have what we call the serial.begin. Ang ginagawa kasi nito ng serial.begin simply means we are trying to open up the serial monitor. Setup, inside the setup yan ha. Ino-open natin si serial monitor automatic. The 9600 here is simply a baud rate. Baud, B-A-U-D. So, baud rate yan. So, this is actually the rate in which, makikita kasi natin yan kapag ka nasa LCD na kung anong ibig sabihin ng baud rate. Yun yung kung gaano siya kalinaw, kanipis, later on. Pero, I mean, the common or the default value is 9600. Yan. So, if you would like to print out a word here, meron ka tinatawag na serial.print, then hello enclosed by a double enclosed quotation mark. So once you run that, pupunta ka lang dito sa may verify. 'Di ba? Save the code. And makikita mo agad dito na may nakalagay na done compiling. And hindi nyo pa makikita yung output kasi hindi nyo pa siya sinusubukang i-upload. Try to upload that. And open your serial monitor, Control-Shift-N. Makikita nyo dito later on yung word na hello. Ito. Diba? Take note, nilagay ko yan sa setup. Ito yung sinasabi ko. Kapag ka nilagay nyo yan sa loop kasi, automatic na. Tignan natin yung difference niyan. Kapag ka nilagay natin sa loop, put your main code to run repeatedly. So, automatic, magra-run si word na hello, paulit-ulit dito sa may loop na to. Pero, ayan, pag ganyan pa siya. Diba? So, hindi yan titigil. Pero, just like Java, if you add print line, yeah. If you add print line, yeah, pwede. Actually, yeah, pwede ka maglagay ng recrolls dito. Kasi meron tayong audio, yung module na audio natin, kung saan pwede ka ngayong mag-set ng tone. Na kapag ka may dumaan na tao, pwede kang mag-set ng recroll. Diba? So, possible po yan. And so this is only the most basic. Saka na tayo mag-in-depth dito sa may coding na to. Basically, I'm just giving you an idea how the Arduino IDE works. Again, Control-Shift-N para mapalabas nyo yung serial monitor nyo. Ayan na. 'Di ba? Infinite loop lagi yan dito sa void loop na to. Okay? So, okay, to. Saka na iyan natin dito. Yan. So, for those of you who are wondering how can we do this via online, kasi syempre, hindi naman lahat tayo siguro makakabili nito. I want you guys to go to this website, Tinkercad. Let me introduce this one, Tinkercad. Go ahead and log in. Sign up, by the way. I'll be signing in. Mag-sign in tayo dito. I have my account personally, so I can just simply sign in my account here using my Google account. Makinig po ha. Ito kasi ang gagamitin niyo from now on. For now, lalo yung mga wala pang kit or Okay. So, this is actually a free website. The good thing about this one is you can actually create the following. You can create your own 3D designs, or punta tayo dito sa circuits, and click on create new circuit. This is an online Arduino IDE na gagamitin natin from now on to simulate what is happening inside your Arduino board. Or, yeah, basically everything na gagawin natin sa klase natin. Ba? So, as you can see, a very simple website in which pag pinindot natin itong si code natin dito, itong si code, this is where we will be putting our code later on. So, pwede nyo siyang i-drag and drop. Ayan, pwede kayong mag-drag and drop ng Arduino Uno. And kapag ka meron na kayong breadboard later on, ito yung way kung saan nyo i-connect. Di ba? Connect kasi natin yan later on. Kaya ngayon pa lang, mag-login po kayo. Tapos, let's go to code. The good thing about the coding part here in Tinkercad, pwede tayong gumamit ng blocks or yung drag and drop method. Pero I don't prefer this one. I always prefer the text version. Yan. In which, kapag ka text version kasi, ayan kagaya ng ginawa natin kanina, yung C++ natin na setup. So, we can actually open here the serial.begin 9600. Tapos, yung serial.print line natin dito. So, it acts the same and exact the same no Arduino IDE natin. So, whichever you prefer. Pero I suggest kung may Arduino IDE kayo, dito kayo talaga. Kasi i-upload niya yung code mo directly dun sa board. Ito, simulation lang po ito. Kung meron kit, kahit di na pumunta sa Tinker. Yes. Yeah, parang Scratch. Yeah, I'm glad alam niyo yung Scratch, no, Peter. Nagamit ko rin yung Scratch before. Yeah, may tutorial naman ito. There are a lot of tutorials out there sa YouTube. YouTube pa lang. Marami na kung paano gamitin si Tinkercad. Yan si Arduino. Yan. Good. You're in it. Maganda yan, di ba? So, go ahead and sign up. Mag-sign up po kayo dito sa may Arduino natin. Just for you to have an idea, ano po yung mga gagawin natin. Let me show you some of my some of my projects I have created here. Especially this one. The LED. Ito. So kapag ka naglagay na kasi tayo ng mga components dito such as the LED lights, the resistors, and the wirings, together with the code, take note, together with the code, we can just simply click on Start Simulation and we can see how the lights are working. Yan, di ba? Kung familiar kayo dun sa may peryahan, ganito ang style niya. Di ba? Umiilaw siya pa isa-isa. Kung sa personal yan, syempre iba rin ang itsura. Di ba? Kung sa personal yan, iba rin ang magiging style niyan. Later on, papakita ko yung sa personal niyan. Okay? So, yan, meron din tayo ditong, ito madali lang ito eh. Hindi na natin gagawin ito kasi may background na rin kayo sa programming. Doon na tayo magpo-proceed next week sa may bandang mismong LED natin, sa first project natin. Okay, so you can always go ahead and read the course outline, the module 0, the course outline natin para makita ninyo kung ano yung next na i-discuss natin. Okay, so wait lang ha, kukunin ko lang yung ano natin, yung camera. Tapos nandito kasi yung video nung ano natin, nung Arduino natin. Okay, code natin. Ipakita ko lang sa inyo. Ano ha, optional lang po ang bumili ng kit. Okay? Optional lamang po ang bumili ng kit. And by the way, you are the very first batch na naturuan or maka-encounter ng Arduino na to. open natin. Okay, so I hope naka-create na kayo ng account, no? Hindi pa tapos ang discussion natin, no? So, go ahead and create your account here in the Tinkercad, and I want you to, to play around with that one. Ito, pakita ko lang sa inyo yung video na kinuha sa akin ni Sir Clemente. Ayan. So, in a physical setup, magiging ganito po ang itsura niyan. Okay? So, you have the breadboard, you have your Arduino microcontroller na nakasaksak sa mismong PC, and you have your resistors in which we will be discussing today, and so on. Yeah, pwede pong gamitin tong website na to sa tablet. You can go ahead and try that. Ngayon pa lang. Pwede. Drag and drop din yan sa tablet. Diba? So, yun. Kaya ko rin hindi sinasuggest na bumili kayo ng kit kasi meron naman sa online. Pero if you want to experience the feeling or, just the experience by having the physical kit na nakikita nyo siya. Kasi iba rin pag nakikita nyo siya in person talaga. Mas maganda rin. Medyo advantage lang din sa inyo. Pero kung gusto nyo magtipid, syempre, magtipid tayo, no? Actually, si UC, 100 kits ang meron sila eh. So, pag face-to-face, magagamit talaga na lahat. Pang dalawang section. Ayan. So, ganyan ang itsura niya, no? Kapag ka sa mismong physical na. Alright? So, let's continue our discussion here and let's talk about the safety precaution in using electronic components. We are actually, of course, handling some electronic components pa rin eh. So, we should need to know the basics or the different safety measures that we need to have. Now, make sure that your hands are dry, of course. If it is necessary, try to use some working gloves. Pero based on my experience, I haven't tried that. Okay. Ano pa ba? Make sure your working area is clean. Of course, no liquid materials or drinks, especially when we are working in a physical environment. No conductible material near the work area. Cleanliness should always be observed. Dirt and liquids might destroy the materials. And there should also be no conductible material to avoid flow of electricity. Know where the first kit is located as well. And a first aid kit is a collection of, alam nyo naman na yan. So let's try to identify the following symbols here. Dito na tayo sa ito. The number 1 symbol, I don't know if you guys are aware of this one. Aware ba tayo sa mga symbols na nakikita natin dito? Hindi pa, di ba? Kasi hindi pa naman natin siya totally naaral. Actually, this is one of your written work sa may activity natin kung napansin nyo, no? Wait lang. Better than Belle Delphine water. Oh my God. Hans, hindi pwede mag-send ng picture. Anong gusto mong i-picture? May kit ka? In person? Mas maganda kung meron, no? Okay, ganyan. Pwede na gumawa ng keyboard sa Arduino. These are hex values. Okay, naka-create na ba kayo ng account? Kasi mas maganda lang kung naka-prepare na yung accounts natin sa Tinkercad para hindi na tayo mahirapan. Lalo sa may next na natin, no? Now, sige, let's continue our discussion here. Let's identify the following symbols based on the pictures. Number 1, ano nga ba to? This is flammable. Okay, this is what we call the flammable image or symbol. Kailangan natin tong alamin. It means that the chemicals is capable of being set on fire. Number 2, this is what we call the radioactive. Radioactive meaning this chemical or item is producing a powerful and dangerous form of energy named radiation. This is flammable, radioactive. Number three is poisonous. Of course, it contains poison. Para aware lang kayo na may mga symbols sa gato lalo kapag sa face-to-face environment. Number four is use gas mask, meaning the person that will use the material should use gas mask to avoid harm. And number five, biohazards. Okay, refer to the biological substances that pose a threat to the health of living organisms. Flammable, radioactive, poisonous, gas mask, and biohazards. So those are just simply the five, you know, those are just simply the five safety or symbols na alam natin dapat. Yeah, I am reading here sa yung mismong bulb, pwede rin sa buong bahay. Actually, one of the projects in Arduino, ito pwede nyo gawin ito. Actually, kilala ko may physical kit kayo. Pwede nyo kasing makontrol yung pag-ilaw ng light bulb ninyo or any component sa bahay ninyo using Arduino. Okay? Yung, di ba yung concept na tinatawag natin na Internet of Things? If you have your Google Alexa, for example, if you have your Amazon, for example, yung mga voice recognition na pwede nyo kasing i-custom ang buong bahay nyo. In which, i-connect nyo lang ito. May gagawin lang kayong part kung saan pwede nyo nang i-turn on si light bulb, si electric fan, dito kay Arduino. Meron yung, ilalagay nyo siya sa may 5 volts. Ito Diba? So, nakita ko rin yun. Ginawa ko rin yun dati. Teka. Ano yun? Light bulb project. Yung physical light bulb ito Ito naman kasi using a web to. Using the internet. Ito. Using the internet. Ito, medyo advanced na ito. Kasi meron na tayong panibagong shield na gagamitin. Pero this is for an advanced tutorial. Ito. Yung mga panibagong module. The bigger version of this one. Yan. So, yung may mga Tinkercad na go nyo. Mas maganda kung meron na kayong Tinkercad talaga. Para ma-practice niyo kung paano mag-code ng C++. Okay. So, ito. Lesson 6. Malapit na rin naman tayong matapos Lesson 6 are actually the functions of electronic circuits. Now, learning about the basic electronics and creating your own projects is a lot easier than you may think. In this lesson, we're going to give you a brief overview of common electronic components and explain what their functions are. You will then learn about the relationship between voltage, resistance, and current and how they are used to design and build circuits. So you will also put this information to use by creating your first basic circuits as well. Yan. So try to imagine, blow the whole of a tissue roll and block the air using the palm of your hands. Diba? So, try mo, imagine mo may tissue roll, tapos mo. Anong na-observe mo? You might probably say that the air actually from your mouth passes through the roll and reach the palm of the hands. Tama? So, pagka ihip mo, mararamdaman mo yung sa palm mo, yung ihip mo. Diba? Now, what's the function of your hands? It block the air that you release, diba? So, kapag ka umihip ka dito, mabablock yung air na blinog mo. How does the tissue roll works? The tissue roll actually works as a path of the air from your mouth. And how about your mouth? Where will you compare its function from your prior knowledge? It function as the source because this is where your air came from. This is only a very basic analogy on how electronic circuits are working. So this is a sample diagram on how voltage, resistance, and current works. Diba? So this is the palm of your hand. This is actually your mouth. And since you blow, you try to blow an air, which is a voltage, the resistance or the resistors later on in your components will resist the amount of power that will actually, go out inside the wire itself. So the good example for that one in Arduino, for example, you have an LED. an LED light, di ba? Yung simple na ilaw mo. Si Arduino kasi, gagamit tayo later on ng resistors, in which the lesson 7 will talk about resistors. The higher the value of your resistors, of course, the lesser yung ilaw na makikita natin sa ano natin, sa LED. Kaya nga resist, 'di ba? Resistors, it resists the amount of power that can enter your devices. So the smaller the amount of resistors, the higher the power ang pumapasok doon sa may ilaw natin. So in reality, kapag gumamit tayo ng resistors na mababa yung value, mas malakas yung ilaw. Pero pag gumamit tayo ng resistor na mas mataas yung value medyo dim yung ilaw na ma-encounter natin. Ganun siya. Diba? Very basic lang na analogy ng voltage, resistance, and current. Voltage is the difference in charge between the 2 points, while current is the rate at which charge is flowing. We have what we call the alternating current and the direct current. Diba? When we say direct current, it travels in a straight line in one direction, kaya nga DC. Diba? Direct, commonly produced by sources of stored energy such as batteries. And kapag ka sources of DC voltage, usually they have positive and negative terminals. So terminals establish polarity in a circuit, and polarity can be used to determine if a circuit is a DC or AC. Ang alternating current naman, it reverses. Take note ha, ang direct current, direct, such as, batteries. Kapag alternating current or the AC, it reverses the direction at irregular intervals. So it usually commonly produced by utilities via generators, where mechanical energy rotating motion powered by the flowing water, steam, wind, or heat is converted to electrical energy. So alternating, nag-alternate siya. And electric current is a flow of electric charge in electric circuits. This charge is often carried by moving electrons in a wire. Yan. So when we say polarity, on the other hand, it refers to the positive and the negative charges that describe the current flow. And the current flow. Polarity shows the path of the current. And negative charges pass on the negative path. And positive charges on the positive path. Dapat alam din natin yan, di ba? Lalo kapag mag-LED na tayo. We should know when we will be using the positive and the negative or the anode cathode ng ating LED lights. In your module number 2, we will experience how we turn on the following LED lights. So ang positive, idadaan natin sa positive. Ang negative, idadaan natin sa negative. Usually, negative is for the ground. Siya yung pang-ground naman. Ayan. Yun yung mga LED lights natin, naka-prepare na yan. Okay? Anyways, we will be, just simply take note of the following functions of electronic circuits. Is the symbol, the voltage, current, and resistance. Gagamit tayo most of the time dito itong resistance natin. Resistance can be measured by ohms. Currents can be measured by amperes, amps, and voltage can be measured by volts. Hindi naman tayo mag-i-in-depth totally sa voltage current resistance natin. If you enrolled in an electronic computer engineering courses, yan, mga ECE, mechatronics, doon, kailangan ninyong alamin kung tama nga ba yung amount ng voltage na pumapasok, blah, 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 and so on. Dito, hindi na kailangan since Arduino lang naman tayo. We will only focus on what we call the resistance, yung kung paano mag-compute ng resistance natin. Okay? Now, let's talk about the last lesson, which is the resistors. Now, resistors, okay, it looks something like this. Ito po. Ang resistors, in an Arduino point of view, ito po siya. Yung maliit na ganyan. Diba? In Tinkercad, buksan natin yung ating Tinkercad dito. The resistors can be found somewhere here. Hintayin lang natin. Ito. Resistors. Ayan o, di ba? So, they can be found usually here and pwede natin siyang ma-measure into ohms. Ito. Yung ano natin. Yung the value nito, yun yung pag-uusapan natin. Now, a resistor is actually a color code or a passive two-terminal electrical component that implements electrical resistance. It resists, take note ha, it resists the electric current na nagpa-pass through. In electronic circuits, resistors are used to reduce the current flow. A resistor color-coded served as a guide to compute the resistance based on color codes or find the color codes based on the resistance value in ohms. Now, this is an example of a resistor na nakikita natin. Now, what do you think is the reason why resistors consists of different colors? Isa lang ang sagot yan. Each color actually represents, okay? Each color represents the amount of electricity it limits. And using this particular table na nakikita nyo dito, I want you guys to at least remember this table here na nasa module nyo rin. Lagay ko to dito. Tuturuan ko kayo kung paano gumamit ng table na to. Okay? Because it's very important for us to know how to calculate and to read the value of a specific resistor. So kung halimbawa inabot ko tong resistor na to, ano kaya ang value nito? Diba? So you should know how to compute for that one in the near future. Now, we have here the significant figures, the number of tolerance, and the multiplier, in which we will talk about as well. Now, resistors are electronic components that limit the current with some value. Diba? And meron tayong mga iba't ibang color. Nagja-jumble-jumble yan. Iba't iba rin ang mga tawag dito. Iba't iba rin ang mga values niyan per color coding. Yan. Punta tayo dito. How to calculate the value of resistors. Say for example, meron tayong 3-band resistors. Pag nakakita kayo ng 3-band resistors, ito po yun. Sabihin, makikita nyo yan, ang napakaliit nyan eh. 3-band, ito, which is, in this case, the example is orange, na dalawa, tapos red. Pero in this case, for example, we have a yellow, violet, and red. Ibig sabihin nito, 3-band. Ayan o, nakita no? Yellow, violet, and red. Ayan. 1, 2, 3. All you have to do is to simply check the table for the values. Diba? For the values. Si yellow, what does it mean pagdating sa table? Si yellow, the significant figure is 4. Take note. Okay? Si violet, ang significant figure niyan is 7. And si red, ang significant figure niyan is 2. So, i-add nyo siya, di ba? Ilalagay nyo lahat ng significance value niya. Next, since this is a 3-band resistor, all you have to do is to multiply the yellow and the violet significant figures by the multiplier ng red. Ano ang multiplier ng red? Times 100. Ayan o. Kaya siya 10 squared, this is 100, di ba? So, this is times 100. So, 47 multiplied by 10 squared or 100 is equal to 4700 ohms or 4K7 ohms. Diba? Napakadali, no? Kaya nga pag nilagay natin yan dito sa may Tinkercad natin, tapos pinaltan natin yung resistance nito, mag-iiba din. Diba? Naging yellow, violet, red din siya. Next, another example here. For example, you have a 4-band resistor. Yan. Iba rin ang calculation for 4-band resistor, meaning the digit, the multiplier, and this time the tolerance. So, for example, you have here a 4-band resistor of yellow, violet, red, nang. Tapos meron kang isa dito na none. It's possible na magkaroon ka rin ng none or other colors out here. Pero this time, aside from the multiplier na nilagay mo, you will try to take a look at the tolerance naman niya. Yung tolerance dito, yun din yung i-multiply mo. In this case, since there is no tolerance, yan, nakalagay yan dito sa may part ng module nyo. If there is no tolerance mentioned, meaning 20%. Pero kung ang tolerance na nakalagay dito is red, ito, for example, ito, yan na, meron kang 2%. Kung violet yan, 1% din yan. Madali lang naman yan actually. Super dali. In this case, ano nga ba itong hawak ko dito? This is 110K to eh. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ayan. 5 bands. Ayan. Now, let's try to calculate this. Ano kaya ito? This is brown, black, orange. So, tingnan natin yung table natin dito, no? Bigyan natin ng example na to. So, this is brown. Ay, ano ang significant figure ni brown? It is 1, di ba? Black is, what's the significant figure of black? This is 0. So, automatic 0. I mean, magiging 10 na ito, no? 1, 0. Since this is 3-band, this is orange, we will just simply take a look at the multiplier ni orange, which is 10 raised to 3 or 1,000. So, meaning, this is 1, this is 0, 10 multiplied by 1,000. Okay? Orange to eh. So, 10 multiplied by 1,000 is equal to 10,000 ohms. So, this is 10,000 ohms with a tolerance of 20% since wala namang nakalagay dito na tolerance. Diba? This is none. Yan. Madali lang, di ba? Madali lang siyang ano. May pagbabasihan naman na kayo dito eh. Okay? So, again, this is brown, black, orange. Now, there is also an activity na nilagay ko dito sa may module ninyo in which you will simply calculate. Ayan, pinigay ko na yung sagot sa number 1. Diba? Number 2 na lang ang sasagutan nyo hanggang number 5. So, in this case, this is brown. Brown ba to? Yeah, brown to. Brown, black, and red. Ano ang value niyan? Siyempre, yung 1 lang ang sinagutan natin. Alright. So, I will be ending my discussion for today by simply asking you, what do you think is the importance of resistors in robotics? Especially ito, sa ginagawa natin na Arduino na to. The main importance of resistors in robotic is to control the flow of current to other components. The resistors, okay, are used to reduce the current flow in a robot. It adjusts the signal levels to divide the voltages. And yes, it's correct, Mr. Lawagan, we are trying to avoid overloading. And in reality kasi, kapag totoong components na ang gamit natin yung hindi microcontrollers na kagaya ng Arduino, there is a possibility na kapag nasobrahan nyo ng voltage na pumapasok sa component mo, syempre, alam nyo na yung mangyayari, di ba? So, yun yung iniiwasan natin. So, yun yung purpose ng resistors natin. We are trying to resist those electric currents. Yeah, circuit breaker, it shuts down. Diba? So, any questions so far? Dito tayo sa may ano natin. Sa written work natin. You can now answer the written works and the performance check. Now, for the performance check, this is actually a different performance check for now because I want everyone to draw something in this case. Kasi since ICT naman tayo, you also have your animation subject as well and course audit, and I am assuming na matino-tino dito. Now, all you have to do is to cite some robotic applications that will highlight the 4 important characteristics of a robot. You can draw them traditionally or digitally if you want. All you have to do is to take a picture of your drawing and simply upload your drawing dito sa essay part natin. Okay? For the letter B, draw a representation of Arduino microcontroller that would help you best to remember its parts and functions. And letter C, complete the concept map by filling out the box, yung Arduino natin kanina na in-install natin. Ito. Diba? So, you can just simply complete the box with the important icons of Arduino IDE. No, not semi-realistic. Grabe namang realistic yan. Diba? And for letter D, draw a scenario showing how to take care of an electronic component. Take note ha, draw. Meaning hindi kayo pwedeng kumuha from the internet. So, meaning you have to draw. Yeah, may background naman na kayo ng ano eh. Ng, ang tawag dito? Ng pagdodrawing ng kung ano-ano. So, no, easy nyo to. Letter E, illustrate the diagram showing how voltage resistant current works in a circuit. Just like yung pinakita ko kanina, di ba? Yung example natin na tissue paper. tucking electronic component to bed. Oh my god. Draw a color-coded resistor and label its parts from the first band down to the last band. Easy.